care what school you go to, I don't care what hood you live in. We all have obstacles that we face when it comes to believing that our black lives matter.
When I got to NIU in the fall of 2006, I was supposed to be playing football here. I got into this relationship for a year and a half, and my life literally spiraled out of control within that time. I put on 170 pounds in a year and a half. But little did I know that during that year and a half, I would become the victim of domestic abuse. And I couldn't put my hands on this woman because of the fact that growing up, I had a temper, as do a lot of men. I was this little short fat kid. I came home one day and I said, maybe they wouldn't pick on me. Maybe they would like me more if I cut off some of the fat. So I took knives, I took sharp objects to my body, and I began to cut into myself. These are all the things that began to make me feel like my life didn't matter. Opening myself up to a door that I never would have expected. Because self-mutilation then became attempted suicides for the next 10 years. When we talk about Black Lives Mattering, when we talk about black people in suicide, depression, it's so taboo. But the reality is, it is such a big issue. This violence that we see when it comes to our hometown of Illinois, of Chicago, a lot of this is depression. A lot of this is depression. Depression, why? Because they said we can't have. Because we grow up in broken homes. Daddy wasn't there, mama wasn't there. The first person to show me love was a gang member. The first person to show me love was a perverted uncle or perverted aunt. Listen, I told you, I'm gonna keep it 100 with y'all today. On Dr. King's birthday of 2008, I found out that the girl that I had been with that whole time, that was abusing me, that I had issues with my family about, all of this stuff that I had allowed to come in, she was cheating on me the entire time we were together. Y'all seen the movie Halloween? I took a 12-inch blade just like that down my left wrist, and you can still see the marks. All 5 of them. Each mark represented something different. While all of this is happening, I'm the president of a Christian fraternity here. I'm on the executive board for the gospel choir. I'm one of the praise and worship leaders. I'm a part of the Residence Hall Association. I'm doing work with the student government, like you name it. Like I was active. Richard Taylor, student leader, suicidal, crazy. You name it, down the list. The same church folk I was in the choir with, they turned their backs on me. I contemplated suicide again once I left the hospital just because I'm like, how do I come back to a campus and face all of these people that I once ministered to, that I once talked to? How do I come back? How do I regain myself after this? A doctor came to me, the top mark on my wrist. He said, you slit your vein. He said, but no blood will come out. His last words to me, I didn't know this man. He was like, it's obvious that you were supposed to live. Now it's time for you to figure out your purpose in life. First chapter of my book, Between the Drink. This is my second book. I got a chapter here called You Ain't Shit. When we look at what's happening on TV right now in Baltimore, when we look at what took place in Ferguson, when we look at the streets of Chicago, Rockford, look, I see there's a lot more violence happening. I get it. But this You Ain't Ish lifestyle, this comes from somewhere. Look, we don't just jump up and get mad off of nothing. So I took this whole term and I said, let's flip it. The definition of fecal matter is something that has little to no or lacks complete value. That means we device you all wrong, right? You ain't shit. Because you were created to be so much more than what you are right now, than what they said you would be. For my people in Chicago, raise your hand real quick. How many of you all are familiar with the North Shore? For all of our athletes, all of our big-time CEOs, all of our doctors, they live out there. Our face, our color is not heavily represented out there at all, right? I took one of my little homies up there that I mentored, and his exact words to me, he was like, I'll put my gun down for this lifestyle. I asked him, I'm like, well, what's stopping you? And he told me, he was like, I never knew that I could have something. This whole idea of self-image, how do we do it? Like, we gotta start getting our hustle right. And our hustle is not to the bottom. For my black men in here, they throw you a basketball, they give you a mic, and they tell you to go rap and play. How are we gonna say Black Lives Matter but we're not living it? We gotta get to a point where Black Lives Matter is bigger than a freaking hashtag. Everybody wanna be rich, everybody wanna be a hustler, everybody wanna be a boss, but how many of us gonna go out here and do the work? It's time for us to begin to control our own narrative. We can't let somebody else tell our story or tell us their story and expect us to stick to it. You need to find what it is for you that's going to separate you and show that your Black life matters. There's a chapter in that book, chapter 9, it's called Starve the Beast. So what is it that you gotta starve? What is it that you need to let go of in order for you to be as successful as you say you wanna be? When I say starve the beast, I'm talking about starve every distraction, starve every temptation, starve that boyfriend, starve that girlfriend, starve Instagram and WorldStar, Facebook, social media in general. Finally, I'll say this. Last chapter of my book says, what's in your hands? We talk about this idea of what's in our hands. Like I said, it's not through a basketball. Everybody in here has $1 billion ideas, but it's not through a basketball. It's not through a microphone. Do not limit yourself in your greatness. Do not limit yourself in the things that make you who you are. What's in your hands? We talked about David in the Bible, how he was able to slay Goliath. Moses had a speech impediment, but he was still able to lead people free from captivity. What's in your hands? What is it that you have that can go out here and change the world? And you might not know right now, but what I'm telling you is that you got to get to a point where you start thinking about it. And once you think about it, start to act on it, because you do not have to wait for greatness to hit you. You hit it first. And guys, look, that's my time. I'm going to close it with this. The quote in my book, it says, you are not losing, you are not failing, you are simply between the dream.